Your credit card company knows exactly how much you're going to pay this month. Not because they're guessing, because they design the number you're going to anchor to. I spent years inside the system. Analyst, ran the models. And the thing that still gets me is how precise it is. That minimum payment isn't a floor to keep you safe. It's a ceiling to keep you profitable. Most people think they're being responsible. They're making payments. They're current. And they don't realize they've been placed on a 20-year repayment track for a balance they could have cleared in 3. Here's how the trap works, why even smart people stay in it, and what actually breaks the pattern. Inside a credit card bank, you're not primarily a customer. You're a category. They segment you 3 ways. Revolvers carry a balance and pay interest. Transactors pay in full. And then there's dormant or inactive accounts that barely move. Here's the part they don't put on the website. Transactors get called deadbeats. That's internal slang. Not because you're a bad person, because you don't generate interest revenue, so you're a bad product. And the math makes it obvious why they talk like that. A revolver is worth around $240 of profit per account. A transactor is more like 25. That gap exists because card profits mostly come from the credit function. Interest is roughly 80% of profitability. Swipe fees are the noisy side hustle. Interest is the business. About 40% of cardholders are revolvers. 36% are transactors. The rest are inactive. But that 40% generates about 85 to 90% of net revenue. Heavy revolvers, people paying more than $60 a month in interest, cover over 70% of all interest paid. Rewards are loud. Interest is the engine. And minimum payment is one of the levers that keeps you in the right bucket. The minimum payment is the bank handing you a timeline and hoping you never look at it. Because I'm making payments so I'm fine feels responsible. On a credit card, at the minimum, it's usually not progress, it's maintenance. Run one normal example. $5,000 at about 19% APR with a 2% minimum payment. That takes roughly 22 years to pay off. Total interest? Around $7,240. You pay more in interest than you borrowed. Now zoom out to today. Average credit card APR is 20.97% as of Q4 2025. For people actually carrying balances, it's 22.30%. Average balance per person is $6,730. At those rates, minimum is how regular purchases turn into multi-decade debt. And it drags out on purpose. The minimum shrinks as the balance shrinks, so you never accelerate. Early on, most of your payment is interest. The principal barely moves. The minimum payment isn't how to get ahead. It's the slowest legal way to stay current. I ran this math on my own statement once, from when I was 26, still at the bank. I would have been paying that card until I was 47. The minimum payment isn't just a number. It's an anchor. It tells your brain, this is what a normal payment looks like. And once your brain accepts that, you stop asking what a smart payment looks like. There's a study by Neil Stewart in 2009 that made me sit up. When people didn't see a minimum payment printed, they paid about 75% more. On a 435-pound balance, they paid 175 pounds instead of 99 pounds. Same people, same debt, different line on the page. Stewart's math showed that minimum payment anchoring can literally double the total interest you pay over the life of the balance. And it's not just lab behavior. Keyes and Wang looked at real accounts. 29% regularly pay at or near the minimum. And at least 22% of those people weren't broke, they were anchored. If you've been paying the minimum and wondering why you can't get ahead, it's not a discipline problem. It's a design problem. You responded exactly how the statement was built to make you respond. Tell me in the comments, how long did you ride the minimum before you realized what it was doing? Or are you still there? No judgment. And just so you know, this minimum payment you're seeing today, this is the improved version. Back in the 1970s, minimums around 5% were common. You owed $1,000, they wanted 50. It still wasn't fun, but at least the balance actually moved. Then, by the early 2000s, issuers pushed that number down to 1 or 2%. Sounds friendly, looks affordable, and it quietly turns your payoff into a long-term subscription. Here's the part most people don't know. Negative amortization used to happen on credit cards. You could make the minimum payment on time, like a responsible adult, and your balance could still go up because the payment didn't even cover interest and fees. Paying and losing ground at the same time. In 2003, the OCC, the Fed, and the FDIC stepped in and told banks minimums had to be high enough to pay off in a reasonable period. My dad, union guy, never carried debt his whole life, got a card in 2002. Even he didn't notice when they dropped the minimum to 2%. So if today's rules still trap people for decades, don't miss what that means. The system is tuned for that outcome.
In 2010, the Card Act forced credit card statements to add a little helpful box. It has to show two things: how long it'll take and how much it'll cost if you only pay the minimum, and what payment would wipe the balance out in 36 months. On paper, that's accountability. In real life, it barely moves anyone. Research found less than 1% of accounts actually switch to the 36-month payment the box suggests. The measured savings are about $57 million a year. Sounds big until you hear the other number. The same research estimates it could have been $2 billion a year if the people who got anchored actually changed behavior. And it's not because people are dumb. It's because the system is built so the warning is easy to miss. Most people pay online. They never stare at the statement. Meanwhile, the minimum payment is front and center, and AutoPay literally defaults you into repeating it. So yeah, the law forces a warning, but it's designed to be ignorable, and it mostly is. Then they lock it in with AutoPay. Set to minimum, AutoPay can double the share of people paying the minimum. People stay there for about 10 months, and minimum AutoPay users pay about 20% more in interest and fees. Marketed as never miss a payment, functions as never escape the balance. Here's the one move that breaks the trap, and it's boring on purpose. Change your AutoPay today. If you can afford it, set AutoPay to statement balance. Pay in full. That's it. Interest goes to zero, and the whole minimum payment conversation ends permanently. If you can't pay in full right now, don't default to the bank's number. Pick yours. Set a fixed payment that doesn't shrink every month. Minimum plus 50, minimum plus 100, or a hard floor like $200 every month until it's gone. The point is simple. The statement stops choosing the pace. Carrying a balance isn't a character flaw. Paying the minimum is what happens when the system hands you an anchor and calls it help. This took me 3 minutes on my phone last year to switch Dana's card to pay in full. 3 minutes. I'd been meaning to for 6 months. Once the payment is fixed, then APR tricks, balance transfers, and fee cleanup actually matter. Until then, they're just decorations on the same cage. If this is the kind of thing you wish someone had told you 10 years ago, subscribe. No courses, no upsell, just the math they hope you never run. Hit like if this connected.